What are the things that you see when it comes to training for muscle growth that are the biggest mistakes people make? Where are people going wrong the most when it comes to this?
Thinking all that time in the gym will get you laid. And Chris, let me tell you from a personal story, it just doesn't work. Nothing works. Help. Anyone who's listening, help. Send me a letter telling me how this whole thing works. On a serious note, if I had to be scientific about it and explain the biggest source of variance in not growing muscle over, let's say, a timeline of about a year, which is a realistic amount of time for like people who haven't seen you in a year to be like, holy crap. It has to be consistency, because if you just go to the gym and scream a lot and do crappy technique, crappy volumes and crappy loads and do a lot wrong, but you have a requisite intensity that's anywhere north of reading the newspaper, and you just show up multiple times a week over and over, you're going to get some results.
One of the first places that people are going to go to, and I'm going to guess one of the most common questions that you get asked, what exercises do I need to be doing?
Yeah, all of them, bro.
Right.
Which exercises? So there's a lot to say about it, but you can start with the supposition that it's whatever exercise nominally targets the muscle you want to grow. So if you want bigger biceps, some variation of doing this is probably good. And then, to be honest, that's maybe 80% of the answer. So if a lot of people, here's why I'm saying that. A lot of people will look at, let's say for quads, they'll look at hack squats, they'll look at leg presses, they'll look at lunges, and they'll look at regular high bar squats. And they'll vex themselves infinitely over the question of which one of these is superior, which is kind of like asking, I need to get to Austin, Texas in 2 days. Which airline should I take? You ask someone who works at the airport, like, which airline's like really the one I should be taking? They're like, I don't know. All of them really get you there. There are subtle differences, but at least make sure the ticket says Austin, Texas. So if the exercise hits that muscle, then you're good to go. Now, there are ways of seeing which exercises hit the target muscle that you want. A couple of what we at RP call proxies for stimulus. So this is something like tension. The perception of a lot of tension generated or exposed in that muscle. So if you're doing chest flies and you feel a crap load of stretch and pulling in the chest, that's probably good. If you're doing what you think is a chest fly, but you misread the machine's instruction thing and you feel a ton of tension in your biceps or your forearms or your shoulders, but you don't really honestly feel anything in the chest, on a just pure physics perspective, because of the mechanics of the movement, your chest has to be getting some exposure. But maybe you could be doing better by actually doing the exercise in a way or picking an exercise that really you feel some tension off of. Another clue to if you're stimulating the muscle properly is the burn. And that's seen in a medical context when people don't wear proper protection. The burn is in especially higher rep sets when you start feeling the accumulation of metabolic byproducts in the target muscle. So the chest fly analogy, if you're doing high rep pec flies and at the end of that set, your pecs are burning, hey, that's probably good. You're probably getting a good stimulus there. On the other hand, if it's just your biceps that are burning, but your pecs don't really feel much, are you getting a stimulus in that exercise? Oh, yeah, sure. Is it guaranteed to be a really robust, really good stimulus? Probably not, because you should be feeling some combination of tension and burn. And then also there's pump. Again, none of these are mandatory, but together they're kind of like puzzle pieces that take what could be a C+ exercise for you and make it an A+ exercise if you're getting all the feelings right on this. So another one is pump. How much after several sets of the workout or of the exercise, how filled with fluid is your target muscle? So if you're doing pec flies and after a couple of sets, a girl walks by and you're like, what's up? And she's like, oh my God, and she runs away. I guess that's good, even though she ran away, but she ran away in a way that she obviously respected your pec size, which is the whole point of the gym. But if you do a bunch of sets of something, let's say you're doing pec flies, your shoulders are pumped, your biceps are pumped, even your forearms look more veiny, but if you can honestly say your chest has changed in any visible or palpable way, no doubt still train your pecs, but maybe not that great. Another one is perturbation. Which kind of presents itself in two forms. One is that target muscle feeling really weak? So let's say you do a few pec exercises and you think they're for the chest, and then you try to push yourself into your car, like push off your steering wheel, and you feel like a profound weakness in that pec, you're like, oh my God. And a really good example is if you're trying to walk downstairs after you hit quads.
Yep.
If you think you hit quads, but you really hit glutes and adductors, you can hop, skip down the stairs, no fucking problem. Are we allowed to swear in here? Or is that not a good idea?
Yep.
Sweet.
Whereas if you're doing this on the handrail.
Yes, like desperately clinging for dear life and,
Yep.
and your legs are shaky. Another thing with perturbation is crampy. None of this is required. But if your chest cramps hard when you're trying to pose after a few sets of whatever you're doing, the whatever you're doing absolutely hit your chest. The other thing is weakness too. So if I tell you, hey, this mega pec workout, what's your best bench? And you're like, well, it's like, 200 pounds for a set of 10. And I take you through a mega pec workout. After that, if we put 200 pounds on there, if you bench it for any close to 10, your pecs never got very fatigued, which almost certainly means they never got very stimulated. So you should see a pretty big repetition strength drop off. If you can barely do a push-up after a chest workout, oh shit, something happened to your pecs for sure, especially if you feel like your chest is the kind of onus of weakness in that movement. So those are all ways to kind of proxy that. And I would say another one, again, not a huge deal, not the deal, but a good little additive to the mix is, do you feel any kind of weakness or soreness that persists for hours or days after? So for example, if you do some kind of new quad machine at your gym and 2 days later, your inner thighs are sore, your glutes are physically sore, your quads aren't, either the way you did it, which I'm sure we'll get to technique, or just the exercise itself. It says quads, but it's really not quads. Maybe it is to some extent, but you would expect if you had a novel stimulus to feel some kind of soreness. But if you did something that says quads on it, and then the day later you can barely walk and you're sore to the touch, then you have to have stimulated your quads. There is no alternative. So all those things are in the plus side category. And any exercise that hits a bunch of those check marks for you, man, that's a good exercise for you. And we're all different. So some people respond better to a pec fly machine, some people to dumbbells, some people to cables, some people to something in between. Whatever exercise checks those boxes for you really well, that's probably a good exercise for you, at least for the time being.
If you only had 10 exercises for the rest of your life to hold on to and build as much muscle mass as possible, what would they be?
I would say that I'd have to go muscle group to make sure I check off all the boxes. Don't know if there's 10 muscle groups. And some of these, so the caveat is these are just my personal spirit exercises, the ones I really like. That doesn't mean they're best for everybody. They can't be, and I can talk about that afterwards of what the stimulus fatigue ratio actually means. But I'd say high bar squats.
Why?
Because they hit the quadriceps and adductors and glutes very well. The amount of fatigue you get from them is less than you would with other types of squats like low bar squats. Because until my arms got too big to hold a bar on my back, I fit into the high bar position like a glove. And I love that. I fit into very few things like a glove. Mostly condoms, that's like 80 cubic centimeters left of room. But so high bar squats, I would say the overhead barbell press, just because I'm like really good at it and it feels great for me to do until I guess my arms not too big. I can't do that either. So that's fun.
Is there anything in that where the bracing, the midline bracing is good for just other stuff generally?
Yeah, it's good for like manhood strength. Like if you can overhead press 2 plates for reps, like you're a serious motherfucker and people shouldn't fuck with you probably. So that's cool for that, for sure. And then I would have to say skull crushers for triceps, barbell, skull crusher. How many are we at? 3?
3.
Pull-ups for the back, overhand, chin to bar.
Why overhand, not underhand?
Raw personal preference. I can't rotate my shit in enough to do underhand anymore. I've slowly become more disabled as I became more jacked. Isn't that great? Yeah, there's like an ability curve where you get better at shit and then you get worse at shit. So barbell bent rows from a deficit. Get 2 for the back.
Barbell bent rows from a deficit.
Mm-hmm. So you stand on a little box and
Yep.
you can go super deep in the stretch and then touch your tummy and come back.
Any reason for doing that as opposed to a chest supported or a seal?
Manhood. Yeah. Yeah. You ever seen a seal in Antarctica? They're fucking pathetic. They always need to be rescued. There's babies and stuff. Fuck that. No. Manhood shit. Like an orangutan would do. You don't see him leaning on a fucking tree branch.
All right. Are we 5 deep now? I think we're 5 deep.
I haven't been keeping track.
I think it's 5.
It's 5.
Yep. 5 more.
Let's see what else. Stiff-legged deadlift for the hamstrings.
You
and the
wouldn't have
glutes.
hit that enough with your bent over rows?
No, not even close. Yeah, it's isometric only with bent over rows. You need a dynamic movement for the hamstrings. It also hits a crap load of your spinal erectors and glutes and all this other stuff.
Okay, 6.
And then we have I have to say the cambered bar bench press for chest.
That's the one that does like this.
The
It's like a
bendy
pail.
thing. So it allows you to press.
It's like a
deeper.
Middle Ages olden, like a young boy carrying milk.
Yeah. Or like a torture device or something they put on a bison so he goes around in a circle and mills wheat or some shit.
Yeah. Okay.
How, English people have the last name Miller because like that used to be you hundreds of years ago. My word.
Why the camber bar? Why?
The cambered bar allows you to go deeper than your own chest level. And we have lots of research, especially recently, but lots of good theoretical work before that shows us that a deep stretch is a pretty big deal for hypertrophy. It enhances the amount of muscle growth you get rep for rep. It also feels fucking amazing and ultra challenging. And if you do bench presses with a regular bar afterwards, you're like, oh my God, this shit is easy as hell because it's a huge partial. So I would say I'll take an incline version of cambered bar bench as an exercise, but at 7.
Yep.
I'll take dips in addition to that for the lower pecs and just overall manliness. Dips are sweet.
Good amount of triceps as well. We've got long
Todas.
head on the overheads.
Yes.
Yep.
And what do we got? 2 left?
Yeah. So what are we missing? If you're bothered about abs, if you're bothered about calves.
No, calves, fuck that. I could say something about calves, but fuck that.
Have we done
Yeah. We haven't done side delts yet, no. So I would say super ROM laterals for side delts. And
you literally made your own exercise, kind of.
A few, yeah. I need more ego shit, so let's just start calling them Dr. Mike laterals.
Yeah.
Dr. Mike everything. Do you see my new drink I came out with? It's the Dr. Mike drink. In any case, it's where you do dumbbell laterals, but you don't stop here. You just go all the way and kind of touch your palms together at the top.
Can you do that?
Oh, I used to be able to. With enough weight, I can get it up there. But then I kind of choke myself at the top.
Yeah.
I'll take those for most of the rest of the delt. And I will say the bent rows and the pull-ups take care of the rear delt quite well. And then I'll say seated incline dumbbell curls for biceps. So boom, like that. Again, it's tension at the stretch. Great exercise. The shoulder press, overhead barbell press is there. If I was purely aiming for hypertrophy, I would just take it out altogether because it's insanely high axial fatigue, as you may suspect. And it just really it's nothing it trains that other exercises can't train better, but it's there because of, again, for the soul. And if we're doing something as absurd as restricting ourselves to 10 exercises the rest of our life, I get soul shit. It's like, what meal are you going to eat in your last meal before they kill you? I'm not choosing macros. Fuck that. I'm just mac and cheese.
But what did you say only 10 minutes ago about it's important to have exercises that motivate you to do them more?
Yes.
And if you enjoy man shit, standing upright, barbell, shoulder to overhead.
Have at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just know the trade-off. Now, I will also say, here's the trade-off. The trade-off is when you go to the club and you're standing there with your buddy and he does more scientifically effective exercises and there's a girl looking at you too and she's like, I go with your friend because his delts are bag. And you're like, God damn it. But spirit energy, but she doesn't know about that. You can't I guess you could overhead press your friend and throw him away. And she's like, oh my God, you're like such a man. And by doing, I mean, have sex in the middle of the club. That's what happens. Yes. I've seen Love Island. I've seen you on that show. I've seen
Yeah.